Well, it's the 1st of September 2022. You're welcome to News Night here on Metro TV with me, Annie Efompo. For the news is live from the Akuabwahima studio at North Road. We'll be streaming on channel 277 DSTV. Follow us on social media as Metro TV Ghana and also on Instagram and Twitter as Metro TV_GH. We'll take a look at the headlines of the stories coming up shortly. NABCO trainees threatened to besiege Jubilee House over their 10-month salary arrears and failure by government to secure them payment jobs. NADMO officials warn residents and farmers along the White Volta to move to higher grounds as authorities in the neighborhood Burkina Faso begin spillage of Bagri Dam again. Now, latest household income and expenditure survey by Ghana Statistical Service shows that Savannah region has the highest number of multi-dimensionally poor people in the country. And news from elsewhere: about 1,000 Palestinian pensioners held by Israeli are to go on hunger strike in protest at their conditions. Now let's begin tonight's bulletin on a controversial issue of a possible review of free senior high school policy. In 2021, Education Minister Dr. Yao Duchum said the government has so far spent over 7 billion cedis on the free senior high school policy. Despite causing a strain on the public purse, President Akufo-Addo insists the program will be maintained. Now, instead, he called for a national dialogue to examine the funding gap and devise ways to enhance the quality of education in the country. Let's hear him and then speak to the minority.
One of the things that people are calling for, and at some stage or another the government has to organize itself to respond to it, is this whole... They talk about reviewing SHS. I think we should have a broader conversation about the incidence of education on our national development and therefore also on our budgetary and public sector contributions to national education. Well, so many of the issues that you have brought forward, even though there are single items, all feed into the broader conversation of how much money is a society prepared to devote to education in all its various ramifications, whether it's talking about the feeding of children, whether it's talking about allowances for nurses and for teachers, we're talking about the level of monies that are devoted to scholarships, public scholarships. All of this should form part and parcel of that discussion. Already we spend considerable amounts of money on education in budgetary terms. I think you're aware of it, higher than virtually all the countries on the continent. But nevertheless, as you can see from your own recital, it's still, if you like, inadequate. Yeah, because if it was adequate, it would deal with the amount that is spent on students for the feeding program. It would deal with the issue of training allowances. It would deal with the issue of scholarships. All these are the direct result of budgetary constraints that there are in the system. Already there are some who are eager to curtail some of these important initiatives like the free senior high school policy. There are powerful forces in the society that are against it and who are insisting that education should be what your parents can afford, and they should all contribute to paying for education. And the same at the tertiary level. But I have a different view. I think that it's a public good. the benefits of it for the nation, for the society are obvious. You talk about, for instance, the ratio of enrollment at basic school level. We've now been able to translate it into what, 95%. This is an extremely important statistic. It means that substantially, virtually all Ghanaian children now have access at least to basic school education. The difference between 95% and 100 is almost negligible. So, and therefore it will be relatively easy to move from 95 to 100. Yeah. So that in itself is a major achievement for us as a country.
I'll be speaking with one of the members of the Minority Education Committee, on the Education Committee, as and when we're able to raise them on the need to whether or not review or not to review the free SHS policy. Now, let's turn our attention to utility tariffs. And residents within some communities in the Greater Accra region are complaining that the implementation of the new utility tariffs by the Public Utility and Regulatory Commission, PURC, will further worsen the plight, especially at the time when the cost of living has risen astronomically. Zoe Anita O'Day has been speaking to some residents and has come through with this report.
The Public Utility Regulatory Commission recently announced 27.15% increment in tariff for electricity and 21.55% increase in water tariffs effective September 1, 2022. The increment, which has since taken effect, is already biting on ordinary Ghanaians who say the rising cost of living and petroleum price hikes has forced them to adjust their lifestyles. At Nima and Labadi, residents tell Metro News the tariff adjustment will affect them negatively.
As of right now, the economy is very bad and things aren't working like before. So if I usually buy 30 cedis and it takes me like 28 days, but the last time I bought it was reduced to 21 days. And since they are saying that they are going to increase the tariff, I don't think it will even reach 2 weeks. So I just came and bought some, and I'm going to load it and see how many days they will give me.
That means they are going to make people think negatively to be doing more illegals. Because even if you see here, Mambo there's more illegal. Yes, I can tell you right now. Plenty.
The system is not really going good. You know, the dollar is going up, and then things are not really going good. So, I mean, if you are making about 1,000 Ghana cedis a month, and then you are paying, you know, electricity and water bill about 200 Ghana cedis, and then they're going to increase it again, how much are you going to make?
Some prepaid vendors also spoke to Metro News.
Because we also use air conditioning and other electrical gadgets, it will affect the bill that we pay. Our consumption will go up. Because basically, if before the increment, let's say we buy about 400, we pay about 400 Ghana cedis. Then when the increment, because it's going to affect the unit charge, yes, it means that we'll have to pay more for the same unit charge that we use.
Well, we hope that PURC and the ECG in particular heard the threats about illegal connections. But operators of the Bagri Dam in neighboring Burkina Faso have commenced spillage of the dam again. The NADMO Regional Director Ahmed Mustafa has therefore warned residents to take precautionary measures to avoid being adversely affected by the spillage.
Last year, about 5 persons lost their lives and many others were displaced in the Upper West region by the flood, which was caused by the spillage of the Bagri Dam and torrential rains. About 31,447 acres of farmland were also swept away by the flood, with food crops such as maize, rice, millet and sorghum destroyed. According to the National Disaster Management Organization Regional Director, the overflow to be caused by this year's spillage will flood the banks of the White Volta.
Wa West District is affected, Nadolo Keleo is affected, Laura, even there's a community there called Bagri community. The river is just very close to the individual. Year in, year out, they are affected, including a community called Dike, still in the Laura municipality, are always affected. And then the Nando municipality and that of Ambele, which is part of the Lambuse district are almost affected. Mostly all the 11 administrative districts, except the one municipal, which also enjoys the Wa East and then the Wa West districts, are mostly affected, as and when we have this perennial flooding in the Upper West region.
The residents are to take measures including relocating to avoid being adversely affected.
At this point in time, there is an official communique from the authorities of the Sonobel that in the coming days, anytime soon, they can spill the Bagri Dam. And we have had engagement with other state institutions like the Ghana Education Service, our religious bodies, as and when they spill and it affects individuals, we could lose their facilities as a startup camp. But as of now, we are talking to the individual to relocate to a higher grounds, waiting for the spillage of the Bagri Dam.
The high inflow into the Bagri Dam is the result of the high level of rainfall in the Sahel region, and the spillage is to prevent the dam from breaking its banks.
All right, let's look at how this year's spillage is going to go. The Bagri Dam spillage, and speak with the communications manager of the Ghana Water Company Limited, Stanley Martey, on this development. Good evening, Stanley. Thank you for your time. You're welcome to News Tonight. First, simply confirm, because we know that the spillage was supposed to begin today, but confirm if it has begun successfully before we proceed.
Okay, so we wouldn't feel the impact immediately and the spillage begins. Okay, and it will take a bit of time. So we are monitoring the situation now. Currently, the levels are okay, and we are still producing. And if the levels should go above the maximum operating level, which is around 36 feet, we may have to shut down the treatment plant entirely, because when it goes beyond the 36 feet, then water goes into the intake pump house, and it becomes very, very difficult for the pump to work within the water.
You're referring to the Nawuni water intake plant?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. So I actually wanted to find out if there was any improvement on that particular plant, because last year we were complaining about the fact that the limit was 36 feet. Have we expanded it? Have we done anything about it? Is it going to be able to take more this year?
Every treatment plant has maximum production capacity. Okay, and then it has the river levels also has the maximum operating levels. So beyond the maximum operating level, for instance, in Dahuni, beyond the maximum operating level, the water goes into the intake pump house and goes into the treatment plant itself. And then it becomes very difficult for the pumps to operate within the water. The pumps are not submersible pumps. So if water gets into the place, it becomes difficult. We are just hoping that this year, the water won't get to that level, or the spillage will be such that we wouldn't have to overspill for the water to overflow its banks. So that is our prayer now, and we are working on. We don't have much control over what they do in Burkina Faso, but we are hoping that with the interactions with them, with the collaboration with them, and all that, this time we'll be able to manage it very well. But we hope that things will go very well. Thank you.
So, Stanley, we definitely cannot rely only on prayers, and we cannot do much about Burkina Faso, but we can take the power into our hands here in Ghana. Do we have any plans with NADMO central government, at least to have a second habitat option for the residents in the area who are likely to be affected once it overflows its banks?
Okay, so all stakeholders have been informed, and all stakeholders have been informed currently as I speak. So we are hoping that everybody will play its role the way it has to. For us in Ghana Water Company Limited, we are doing our part. We expect that NADMO and the other stakeholders or other agencies will also do what they have to do. But we are all working together.
Who are these stakeholders? Because you have already cautioned residents to, take precautionary measures. What type of precautionary measures are they left with?
So NADMO should be set by now in case there are some disasters. Now we are informing them to evacuate to the area. Those living close to the riverbanks are being informed to evacuate to the area. and all that. There's a white voter that will be seriously affected. So those who live in communities along that area are being managed by NADMO. We in Ghana Water Company Limited are also doing ours. Thank you so much.
Stanley Martey, thank you as well for speaking with us here on Newsnight. He is a communications manager for the Ghana Water Company Limited. Let's move on from safety to health issues. And the Chief Executive Officer of the National Health Insurance Authority, Dr. Bernard Okoboy, says even though there are unique challenges bedeviling the construction of the large general hospital, government's assurance of rebuilding the facility is not a scam. He spoke earlier on Good Morning Ghana on this issue.
The La General Hospital was closed down on March 1, 2020 to pave way for its redevelopment into a modern health facility with President Akufo-Addo cutting short later in August that year. The 5-story structure of the hospital was said to have developed gaping cracks which made the facility unfit for use. Patients therefore accessed healthcare at the police hospital and 37 military hospital among others. The project, estimated at $63 million, was to be completed in 24 months after commissioning. Fast forward in August 2021, the president launched the Agenda 111 in a bid to build 111 hospitals across the country. Metro News in this light visited the site, and it was evident that after 12 months, the site could not boast of a building's foundation. Some residents expressed misgivings about the closure of the hospital.
Well, probably they have a good intention, but we don't know why they have not been able to put it up. And definitely, if you know you don't have the resources to put it up speedily, at least you have to hasten slowly in doing that. At least we could have started in phases.
If you are sick, you have to go to, how you call Accra, and look at the traffic jam. When the patient not going to survive is, if it's actually going to, that long location to go heal himself or something.
2 years on, the project site is yet to see any significant progress. On August 31, 2022, members of the Health Committee of Parliament who paid an unannounced visit to the project site expressed shock over the neglect of work.
What is even hurting is that immediately we entered here, we saw them packing, things, materials on the site and moving away and leaving us here. So it's about time the president himself and his minister are candid to the people of this area. We are telling the minister that we are religiously following his lies.
CEO for the National Health Insurance Authority, Dr. Bernard Okoboy says, even though government has been hit with challenges, the assurance to complete the project is still firm.
Because we are part of this family or this government, when we identify challenges, we try and advise. I believe strongly that there are unique challenges with the project in terms of the progress, but it is not a scam. I think we have to get it clear.
Upon completion, the hospital redevelopment project will be transformed into a 160-bed facility and will be fitted with an outpatient department and inpatient wards.
And now to matters of corruption, co-chair of Citizens Movement Against Corruption, Edem Senanu, says there must be some stiff penalties and sanctions to public officers fingered in the 2021 Auditor General's report. He said the continuous release of auditors' reports without the recourse to appropriate sanctions will only retard the country's development.
The 2021 Auditor General report uncovered financial irregularities amounting to about 17.5 billion Ghana cedis. In the last 5 years, financial irregularities in public board and corporations have hit over 50.8 billion Ghana cedis. The irregularities were mainly in the form of cash, tax, payroll debt and loans, stores and procurement, contract, rent, and credit power sales. Some of these irregularities include the presidency overspending its budget by 75 million cedis and over 8 million cedis lost to payroll irregularities. Co-chair of the Citizen Movement Against Corruption, Edem Senanu, says these irregularities will not end until stiffer punishments are given to perpetrators of these irregularities.
We need to start having stiff penalties for persons who don't do their job. Because you see, first of all, we are paying them out of the public purse to do these jobs. In their job descriptions, the specific tasks will include, check this kind of document or ensure that these processes are followed before you approve ABC. The kind of sanctions that are punitive enough to make people think twice about not doing their job properly. We need to be targeted at naming and shaming these persons, not just retrieving or cautioning them.
He said the unwillingness by the country to punish the corrupt can only retard the country's development.
It looks like we have a culture where we are afraid or unwilling to punish those who must be punished, which is what you find in the jurisdictions where they are making progress and corruption is minimized. So we should understand what our weaknesses are. And if we need to identify Ghanaians who are stronger at that or nurture them, and put them in positions where they are poor enough to deal with this matter, we need to be very strategic in getting that done.
The Auditor General's report also cited 19 past and current judges of the Ghana Superior Court for acquiring state vehicles, a move that contravenes Regulation 158 of the Public Financial Management Regulation 2019 LI 2378.
Now, Professor of Finance at the University of Ghana, Professor Godfred Bobkin, has bemoaned the failure on the part of the Auditor General to crack the whip on irregularities identified in its reports. According to him, the offenders will feel emboldened to rape the state further if punitive actions are not taken against them.
The 2021 Auditor General's report has revealed various financial irregularities and infractions which reflect serious weaknesses in the system. Professor of Finance at the University of Ghana, Professor Godfred Botwing, says the inability of the Auditor General to surcharge persons and institutions involved is disturbing.
Irregularity is becoming more predictable now, and it's increasing, is because the Auditor General has not been able to effectively exercise all the powers assigned to that office. The power to surcharge, recoveries, and all of that. And therefore, because there is leadership failure from that end, the incentive to continue as business as usual will be very high. Okay, and this is a country that is struggling to fund free senior high school. This is a country that after paying, in fact, this is a country that needs to borrow to be able to pay salaries. You can't allow this.
He further called for a system which favors all Ghanaians.
Corruption reflecting in procurement infraction the rest of the annually cost this country more than $3 billion. How much Ghana loses from Galamsey, okay, commodity mispricing annually is over $2 billion. You see the Galamsey, because it doesn't go through the formal system, all the gold and the diamond from there, the country doesn't even get the tax revenue from it. And when we do so, the country as a whole becomes poorer, and individuals who are benefiting from that system becomes what? Richer and richer and richer. There's no future in that, and that is increasing inequality, right? Nobody is safe in this country until everybody else is safe.
Meanwhile, some civil society organizations have threatened to picket the Auditor General office to demand for immediate action against persons and institutions found culpable.
Watching News Night here with me and your phone pool, but still to come.
ECG is not happy about what happened, but I can't also say ECG will take blame now because we don't have a report. We would like to wait and have a full and proper appraisal of what took place.
Welcome back to Newsnight here on Metro TV with me, Annie Efua Ampofo. Now let's do some more stories. The general manager of the Electricity Company of Ghana, Samuel Mahama, has disclosed that a total of 9,000 out of 27,000 prepaid meters have been installed in both the Lower and Yellow Krobo municipalities. This follows several misunderstandings and violent clashes between the residents of Krobo and the ECG over installation of the meters.
The management of Power Distribution Company, who began the installation of prepaid meters in the Krobo enclave as part of a revenue mobilization drive, faced serious resistance and threats from the people, and that situation resulted in some workers of ECG being attacked. Despite the strong resistance and opposition from a section of the community on the prepaid meter installation exercise, the management of ECG has attributed the gains to the support and effort of the national security and chiefs in the area. The managing director of ECG, Samuel Dubik Mahama, indicated that the pre-meter installation was a necessary national exercise, adding he would not take blame for the clash between residents of Old Nuasu and the military.
ECG is not happy about what happened, but I can't also say ECG will take blame now because we don't have a report. We would like to wait and have a full and proper appraisal of what took place. Have all the views written out, and then we can actually portion where blame needs to be portioned, and then we can make the right decision. But for now, I'm sure there were people present. Myself, I wasn't. So I'll wait for that to happen first, and then I'll be able to speak to that fully.
He added that power would only be restored to the area if a consensus was reached.
With the prepayment meter replacement, the exercise has gone on for a while. There have been issues here and there, and as management, we saw it fit to come have an inspection of what has gone on so far, have a fair idea of what's happening on the ground, see some of our installations, have a chat with our staff to know their difficulty, and understand what needs to be done going forward.
On the issue of increments in utility tariff, which took effect today, the managing director of ECG indicated that ECG could only assess its effects after a month of full implementation.
As you know, the portions that refused us, the network lines have been dropped and we've moved away. So until a consensus is reached, it's not going to be like first where the whole enclave was in darkness. It's going to be treated on a town-by-town basis now.
Now, hopes of hundreds of NADMO beneficiaries to make a good living has been dashed as the program has officially come to an end without permanent jobs placement for the trainees. Now, already the trainees have served notice. They will picket the presidency to demand their 10 months arrears and permanent jobs. But Labour expert Austin Gami has advised the trainees to channel the issues through appropriate agencies for answers.
Although the Nation Builders Corp NABCO program ends today, the issue of payment of 10 months arrears and permanent jobs promised the beneficiaries remain a concern. The group petitioned government severally on the issue but have not received any feedback. A notice from the Secretariat directed the beneficiaries to vacate their posts and take advantage of the YouStart program. But President of the Trainees Association, Dennis Opoku Kateche, described the notice by the Secretariat as unfortunate.
Ending a program after a 10 months extension, we expect the Secretariat to have done these validations and verifications for a long time, or better still, to give at least a time limit which we should expect our 10-month arrears. Now we are going home with 10-month arrears still outstanding, which is very, very unfortunate, and we are not happy about that.
He insists the YouStart program should not be forced on them.
We are not saying the YouStart is not good. It's a good idea, Katechi. I support it. Right. But the government should make sure the right people are targeted. People with business-oriented ideas are those people who are supposed to be targeted, and not in general to cause financial loss to the states.
Meanwhile, labor expert Austin Game entreated the trainees to channel their issues through appropriate agencies to get their concerns addressed.
If, for instance, they formally talk to me or talk to somebody like me, the person can lead them and go and guide them. They can go to to TUC, they can go to anywhere, they can go to an individual and ask for support. So we drive this agenda properly and get their money paid to them. They can go to Labour Commission on their own to report the conduct of their employer, which is government. And the Labour Commission can assist them in getting their money. But I do not want any single bullet to go into the body of anybody again in this country. So it is important that they don't worry themselves if they have their parents alive. Their parents should tell them they shouldn't go. They should find ways and means of reporting this matter through a proper channel. I don't mind leading them to a Labour Commission so we can tailor these matters through properly to avoid any sort of confrontation between them and police. And or any group of people who may want to confront them.
The Nation Builders Corps was introduced in October 2018 to provide jobs to unemployed post-secondary school graduates, graduates of universities, training colleges, among others.
Now, Ghana is one of Africa's most stable democracies and touted as the beacon of multi-party politics in Africa. In order to protect their gains, Professor Michael Okoye, former Speaker of Parliament, has called on politicians to keep the country at heart and emulate the life of the forebearers like Bafo Osei Akoto.
Ochiame Bafo Akoto was born in 1904 and died in 2002. He is recognized as one of the great crusaders of Ghana's multi-party democracy, having suffered 6 years in political prison under the Preventive Detention Act 1958. One of his landmarks is his famous case, Re Akoto and 7 others, which is observed every year by the Ghana Law School. He was the founder of the National Liberation Movement, which together with other opposition parties metamorphosed into the New Patriotic Party. Ochiame Bafo Akoto served as a senior linguist to 3 kings of Asante, Otumfuo Nana Osei Tutu Agyeman-Prempeh II, Otumfuo Nana Opoku-Ware II, and Otumfuo Nana Osei Tutu II. Remembering his legacy 20 years on, a book written in his honor was launched. The book, titled Bafo Osei Akoto, A Royal Patriot and the Making of Ghana, is a collection of speeches and articles made by famous speakers about the exploits of the late traditional icon, with particular reference to the annual Re Akoto and 7 others lectures organized by the Ghana Law School. Professor Michael Okoye, who co-authored the book, gave some insight on the journey of Ghana's democracy with a call on Ghanaians to emulate the life of the late statesman.
Today, actually, it amuses me sometimes when I hear pro-Nkrumahs speak with one tongue that Nkrumah was really the Messiah, and at the same time will say that you cannot detain anybody beyond 48 hours. They don't want anybody to be detained beyond 48 hours. Where did that come from? It came from the experiences of people like Bafo, who suffered for nothing, and for which we put in our constitutions that never again.
Being a man of culture, Nana SKB Asante spoke on his love for tradition.
As I see it, we have before us 1 or 2 years of immense prosperity to be followed by a very doubtful future. So his solution was to peg the price to be paid to the cocoa farmers to 72 shillings per load. Now, this pegging was done before the elections, and then after the election, it wasn't done before it was withheld before the elections. After the elections, it was implemented, and that, according to Brad Bowen, was the immediate or the proximate cause for the foundation of the NLN.
National Chairman of the MPP, Stephen and team, called on party members and Ghanaians to remain united.
I share the admonition of the late President, Akufo-Addo. My humble request, therefore, is that all of us, as members of the family, should always consider what will be in the interest, the best interest of the party, in fact, even if we must sacrifice our personal and individual interests. In my opinion, it is in the general interest and progress of the party that our individual and collective welfare may be found.
Balfour Seyakutu's advocacy for federalism is the concept that has become the basis of the current decentralization in Ghana.
Now, the Director of Corporate Affairs and Communications at Zoom Lion Ghana Limited, Emma Adjoa Apia Osedia, says banning the use of plastics in the country will not be the best solution to curb plastic waste. Instead, she is rather proposing the adoption of proper plastic waste management system where Ghanaians segregate waste at the domestic level.
In recent years, countries have been looking at more sustainable ways of managing the dangers of human activities on the environment. One of the materials that have proven to be a cause for concern and a threat to the environment are plastics. While this may be a global concern, the use of plastics in Ghana cuts across various industries since plastics are an integral part of the buying and selling processes. Plastic packaging constitutes about 26% of the total volumes of all plastics used. Since most of these plastics are non-biodegradable, they become waste. In Accra alone, about 300 tons of plastic waste is generated daily at a rate of 0.016 to 0.0035 kg per person per day. Speaking on whether or not banning plastics is a good way to go as a country in the battle against plastic waste, the Director of Corporate Affairs and Communications at Zoom Lion Ghana Limited, Emma Adjoa Apia Osedia, says banning of plastics in the country would not be the best solution.
To talk about banning of plastics, that will be a no in Ghana. You ask me why. The why is because the plastic industry in Ghana, as in the industry that gets to use plastics as part of their raw material to do packaging of their products, is huge. And people earn their living from there. If we should ban it, it means people will be losing their livelihood. That is.
Now, with the Savannah region having the highest number of multi-dimensional poor people topping the nation, we'll give you details of that in business news coming up with Winston Taki. Be back shortly.
Welcome back to Newsnight Live on Metro TV. My name is Winston Taki. And now to a first business story. The latest household income and expenditure survey by the Ghana Statistical Service has revealed that the Savannah region has the highest number of multi-dimensionally poor people in the country. The region came last in a number of indicators, including access to quality education.
Government statistician Professor Samuel Enim disclosed that the regional breakdown of food insecurity shows the Upper East is the most food insecure region, with 73% of people in that region going to bed every day on a half-empty stomach, with Greater Accra being the most food secure region in the country.
What we are always interested in when we do regional assessment for a particular statistic is the disparity. So here we see Greater Accra region having the least food insecurity of about 27.2% in the first quarter of 2022, whereas Upper East region is recording 73.7%. This is showing us about 4 times difference between the region with the highest food insecurity, where we are recording that in the Upper East region, 73.7%, and the region with the least food insecurity, Greater Accra region, of 27.3%.
The Savannah region came top in most of the indicators, including the list of the most multidimensionally poor regions in the country. Savannah region came last in terms of quality education, quality healthcare, and better living conditions.
Cross as the highest in a number of the indicators, including the triple burden and the multidimensionally poor. So the multidimensionally poor, as was indicated, is based on 12 indicators.
Now, as of today, there has been an increase in fuel prices at some fuel stations across the country. Currently, petrol is selling at 11 cedis and 50 pesos, with diesel also selling at 14 cedis and 50 pesos. Let's now get more insight on the happenings in the petroleum downstream sector. And now joining us on Zoom is the head of research at the Center for Petroleum Consumers, Benjamin Insia. Good evening, welcome to Newsnight.
Good evening and thanks for having me.
Great. What indicators contributed to the increase this time around?
So basically there are three factors, especially that of diesel. International market price of diesel surged by about 7%. And then locally, this is the only international factor we realized. Locally, the depreciation of the cedi of about 6.63 also affected prices in this window. And lastly, we observed that the MPA has increased what we call the UPPF margin by about 7 pesos. So these three factors accumulated into getting us buying diesel in this particular window at 14 Ghana cedis, 50 pesos.
If there was a depreciation of the cedi, as you mentioned, how did that not affect the price rather coming down? By this time, we saw rather an increase in this pricing window.
So as I mentioned, with respect to diesel, price on international market surged, which means it increased. Two, the depreciation of the cedi, that is the decline of the cedi against the dollar, or the appreciation of the dollar against the cedi, also affected prices to increase locally. And third, as I mentioned earlier, is an additional 7 peso per liter added onto the UPPF margin. That has led us into this. So anytime the cedi depreciates, it becomes an add-on cost onto the petroleum price. And that is why we see prices increasing recently. For example, if you look at petrol prices on the international market, petrol prices declined on the international market by 5.7%. So a petrol consumer locally will be expecting that petrol prices should also decrease. However, because the cedi depreciation had a much multiplier effect on the export price locally, that is why price of petrol has also increased to 11 Ghana cedis, 55 pesos per liter.
Okay, on the market as well, we realize that the diesel prices are much higher compared to petrol. Why is that?
So as COPEC, one observation we've made is that the supply premium of the BDCs, that's normally we call it the BDC's margin, vary between petrol and then diesel. For example, the BDCs are quoting $230 per metric for diesel and quoting $100 per metric for petrol. If you convert these figures into cedis and using the forward rate of 11 Ghana cedis to $1, then it means that the BDCs are charging about 2 Ghana cedis, 14 pesos as a supplier's premium or as their margin on diesel, and charging 83 pesos as a margin on petrol. And that is why we've seen quite a higher variance between the prices of petrol and then diesel at the ex pump.
Great. Thank you for your time, Benjamin. Now we're speaking to Benjamin Insia, who is the head of research with the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers Ghana. That'll be all for business here on Newsnight. My name is Winston Taki. Sports is next with Phil Junkote.
It's time for the sports. My name is Phil John Quarty. The transfer deadline will end in the United Kingdom around 23 hours GMT. And also, we're being told that Cross Hero should be ending some of them by now. But in Scotland, especially in Aberdeen, it should end around almost 12 midnight. But hey, some of the transfer deals has been done already. Let's go quickly around there prior to the deadline. Yes, This is Atamelo. He used to play for Juventus. We've been told that he has joined Liverpool on loan. Let's go straight to the rest. That should be Dennis Zachary. He has just moved from Juventus to Chelsea over there smiling. Atabellary. He used to play for Arsenal. He has just joined his boy club in Barcelona over there. Then Julian Draxler, German international, has just moved from Paris Saint-Germain to Benfica. Justin Kluivert, he used to play for Ajax. Now he's going to Roma. You've seen over there. This is Manuel Akanji, the gentleman that plays for Borussia Dortmund in the German Bundesliga, has just moved from there to Manchester City. Quite interesting figures over there. Then we have Martin de Graafla, plays for Newcastle in the EPL, still in the EPL, but has joined Manchester United. And this is Michi Batshuayi. He used to play for Chelsea. Strangely, he has joined Nottingham Forest. So Nottingham Forest has now signed 22 players only. Then Sergio Dras over there. He used to play for Barcelona and now for AC Milan. Now let's listen to some of the transfer deals that has been made through already. Let's go to the United Kingdom and speak to the gentleman who used to play for Borussia Dortmund. We're talking about Manuel Akanji, and Drissa Gueye, who used to play for Paris Saint-Germain, has just joined that is Everton in the EPL.
I'm really proud and I'm really happy to be here. It came a little bit out of nowhere in the last couple of days, but yeah, when City asked me if I wanted to come here, I had no doubts, and yeah, I'm really happy to be here.
Explain to those who haven't seen very much of you play what kind of style of defender that you are.
I think I'm a defender who really likes to play from the back as well, like who tries to help the keeper, who tries to build up from the back, who's fast, physically strong. Yeah, I think these are
not better feeling than coming back home, seeing some brothers here, and I'm very happy to be here to help and to work hard and to give my soul for this team.
We know there's lots of interest in you from clubs around Europe. Why is coming back to Everton so important to you?
Because I'm in my home. I feel like home, and I know everybody here, and seeing this team, following this team every week, how they play. So like I say to you, I cannot feel better in a better place than Everton. So that's why I chose to come back here and to give everything I have and to give my soul to this team.
You mentioned it feels like coming home. What exactly is it about Everton that's so special to you, and what created that feeling the first time around?
Idrissa Gana Gueye, Senegalese international, used to play for Paris Saint-Germain in France. I just joined Everton once again in the EPL. Well, that's your sports. Up next, Showbiz.
Now time for entertainment. Now singer Wendy Esiama, also known as Wendy Shay, is set to drop her first EP titled Enigma following the success of her hit song Survivor.
For the thing you do to me, then I don't make ready.
Enigma in any dictionary means a person or a thing that is mysterious or difficult to understand, which is to suggest that when Shay is about to tell the whole story of how difficult it is for people to understand her unorthodox brand. Well, it appears it is the time for her to partly explain herself to her fans and followers using the tool that she is best known for, which is her voice and music. Not long ago, when Shay teased fans with a beautiful snippet of a forthcoming project she was readying to release on her social media pages. The well-planned video got many people wondering what Wendy Shay was about to do in the music space, as she only flaunted her beautiful self in various shots and ended the video by pronouncing the word Enigma, which is eventually the title of her upcoming EP. From the details she shared on her social media pages, the EP will be available for purchase and streaming on all digital music stores from Friday, October 21st, 2022. Wendy Shay's Survivor Survivor is topping charts across the globe and currently has a whopping 70 million streams across all digital platforms. It is expected that this forthcoming Enigma EP will cross the threshold set by Survivor, becoming a global record-breaking EP.
I'm a survivor.
Now, Throwback Thursdays are a reminder of the good we enjoyed back in the day, and today being a first day, we bring you 6 songs that were hits in the late 2000s. Enjoy.
Hey, me papa sa Al-Qaeda. See you, baby. Al-Qaeda, hey, me mama sa Al-Qaeda. Hey. Me want passport, me want machine, so can I say what I did to me bashing. Me want passport, me want machine, so can I say what I did to me bashing. Oh yeah, we fix so machine. When he went around to so. When he shouted, oh yeah, people start to laugh at him. Men come in and mix Rangelina, say they are so get any muka waka. I'd want the pata pata, and pay you the sentino. Say me to me, men come in and mix Rangelina, say they are so get any moonwalk. I'd want the pata pata, and pay you the sentino. Say me to me,
About him another him, I miss him. Michelle, she been a froze, who winking up. I come off and not to chill me, young Mimbuna, and with Simbaris in the real day, Juma, or Pieball, what did I dear Quechima, what a tema, Tamafahin, Tibunemetema, then my Mepama dear, Nepa Pasukurapoma, I guess I'm in the jail, home, poor Biasoma. I shall win up about the young Conqua, just some pipe, a few rice, one genoa, but Temabuano, Mini Bin Timamua, one on the Jamabakari, eh, really Patakwa. I do, I never do, I do.
Well, that's it for entertainment news on Newsnight. My name is Harriet Adiani.
Yes, Harry, thank you so much for reminding us of those 8 years ago. That's all we have for you this evening for the Newsnight. It came to light from the Ikuya Bohema studio at North Ridge. We also streamed live on Metro TV Ghana on Facebook, also on Instagram and Twitter, Metro TV _GH. We're always on channel 277 DSTV. My name is Ania Fompofu. Thank you for staying with us and have a good night.